It's a question I get asked all the time. What should I do with my wedding rings? And it's different for everyone. Everybody's divorce story is unique, and what everybody decides to do is different. And when they decide to do anything is always different. But what I want to talk about today are these women that save their rings. And a lot of people say, like, should I save my ring? Maybe my daughter might want to wear it in her wedding, or should I make a necklace out of it? And so I have two great guests with me who are going to give you some options, tell you some stories about some of their clients. And my guests are Matt and Anne Gabel of MJ Gabel. Hi, guys.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
Great to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show, as always. And I
Thanks
want
for
my
having us.
listeners to know that I have known Matt and Ann since 2011. I believe that is shortly after you went into business.
Correct. Yeah, as MJ
Okay,
Gable. You're previously in the business, but as MJ Gable, correct. That is the year we were.
2011. So I
Yep.
found these guys right when they were starting out in 2011. I sold my rings to them. The experience was great. They gave me a cash offer. I was really happy with it. And we've been talking ever since, and they became DGS partners. So, but what my point is that now it's 2024. Look how much you've grown. And I want to tell my listeners they have all these other options. You don't just have to sell your ring and get a cash offer, but we're going to get into that later. So, you guys, when I was saying that there are women that I've talked to that say, like, oh, should I save my ring? Do you guys know of specific examples? Do you have stories of women who have decided to either reset their ring or maybe have it made into a necklace or something like that? Because I kind of find that hard to believe, but that's just my opinion.
So I can tell you that we have done both. I've personally done both, and I believe Matt has as well. Um, Generally speaking, when we're talking to somebody who is looking to sell their rings, I usually always throw that out as an option in terms of it's already been bought and paid for. You have this diamond. If you don't want to sell it, we can do something else with it. We can reset it into a ring that you can wear. We can reset it into a pendant. We can save it. Do you have children? All of those things. 9 times out of 10, the answer is, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to, or I've already asked my children, they don't want anything to do with this.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to say,
Yeah,
because I believe that, first of all, why would you want your kids to wear your ring, or even like your son's wife, you could give it to, or your
right.
daughter? But if your marriage didn't work out, is it really something you want them wearing on their finger all the time? I'm not going to judge anyone listening who disagrees because that's your own personal choice. But I would say in most divorce cases, you do not want to wear your ring. And also,
Yes.
you don't want to wear it around your neck either. I
No.
mean, you're still wearing the stone, whether it's on your heart or
Mhm.
it's on your finger.
Yes. The times that I have remounted the stone for somebody, it has been for a daughter who is usually going to get married, potentially. And where the relationship with, and that's her father, the stone was given to her mother, and then obviously the divorce happened, but that the relationship is still actually pretty good. They are co-parenting well. The daughter has a really good relationship with her father, whatever. That's usually the circumstance in which we have remounted the stone. And like I said, it's usually into a pendant. Very, very rarely have I done something with a diamond to put it into a new ring. I've never taken a diamond from a divorce and put it into a new engagement ring, for example, for the daughter. That's never happened. Occasionally, I will resize a wedding band for someone to wear on a different finger, on a right hand ring, style. But that's my experience. Normally, we're not reusing stones, but
It's not, and yeah, it's not frequently that we do it, but you have to understand we've also dealt with now literally thousands
yes.
of women
Yeah.
who've been divorced, and
Mhm.
there's bound to be somebody in that pool that still has a decent relationship with their ex and has a feeling about it. So yes, it does occasionally happen.
And also, what if a ton of time has gone by? Let's say you had this bad divorce, 10 years has gone by. Now you guys are good friends. And I could almost see that happening, not often, but in some
Yeah.
cases where,
Mhm.
maybe both people are happy. They've let all of that anger and
Right.
resentment go. So maybe
They have
if you're
adult
even
children.
considering it, the
Yeah.
best choice is just do nothing. Just keep it for right
Yeah,
now.
I've had clients, and I think I've shared this before on a previous podcast. I have had clients who are already remarried to a new spouse, and they're just finally getting the opportunity or chance
Yeah, that happens.
to feel like they can let this go. So I think that if it, and I always say this, I say this to clients, I say this every time we talk, when you're ready, you will know. It's not something to force, so if you're hedging on if you want to part with it or not, the best thing to do is to keep your
Yeah,
rings.
don't lose sleep over it. I mean,
Yeah,
we've had
you tuck them away
a
and
lot
deal
of
with it
men and
later.
women that have come in. Sometimes the men end up with the rings and they lose sleep over it. Don't. I mean, it will let it happen naturally when you feel the time is right. It's unless you absolutely have to do it because of financial reasons,
Mhm.
let it sit there.
Yeah, until you're
I
ready.
mean,
Right.
regardless,
Well, I was just going to say one thing. Do you guys remember that article I wrote about taking your ring, selling it? Now, let's say you get $5,000 for your ring or even
Mhm.
3,000, okay? And let's say you put that money into an account and you're earning 7% over 10 years, which is what the
sure,
market has
Right.
right.
done. Now look at all the money that you
You
would
Yeah,
have
have, you
given
made, yes.
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you could fund a college tuition
Yes.
with
yes.
that
Yes.
That's a
money.
great idea.
So I
Sure.
Yes.
want people to think really, it's hard to think like this when you're in pain and going through a divorce. And like Matt said, really, there's no rush, but there is some negative consequences of holding on to a ring for 10 years and doing nothing. And
Sure,
then
it's just
parting
sitting.
with it
Mhm.
because you could have earned all this interest.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you could have turned that into something else. Yeah, of
And then not
course.
get too deep, the diamond market has changed substantially over the
Mhm.
past 3 or 4 years.
In what way?
And just it's down because of COVID, lab-grown diamonds. So don't be in a hurry because it's not like it's going to exponentially make you more money or be worth more.
Meaning what Matt's saying is the ring itself won't be worth more necessarily. You know what I mean? In 5 years, 10
Correct,
years.
correct.
The market is what it is. You don't have to play the market. You know what I mean? If you
Okay,
will,
yeah,
with the
let's talk
ring.
about that. Is the
Yeah.
diamond market kind of like the stock market where it fluctuates?
It wasn't. It's been pretty stable actually since the conception of diamonds, other than it would go up and down a little bit, like 2.5 points, 3 points, and it go down a point and a half. But for the most part, it's been stable for a very, very, very long time up until COVID happened.
And then with lab grown diamonds, right? You have to remember what changes in terms of from a consumer perspective is that the retail price continues to rise because wages go up. You know what I mean? Cost of
Cost of
doing
living,
business.
yep.
Yep, all of that stuff goes up. So the retail price goes up. What the jeweler has to make on the sale goes up, but the wholesale diamond market itself stays fairly consistent. Like Matt said, until recently, we've seen some dips in the market, but again, that's relative to the things that are going on in the world.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. I'm here today with Matt and Anne Gabel of MJ Gabel, and that's Gabel. And we are talking about what you should do with your ring after your divorce. Should you sell it? Should you save it for your daughter or your son's wife? We're coming up with all kinds of scenarios. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we are going to get into what your options are if you decide to sell your ring. And guess what? Selling your ring for cash is not the only option. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Should you save your ring after divorce? That's what we're talking about today. My guests are Matt and Anne Gabel from MJ Gabel, the company I sold my rings to in 2011. And if you want to reach Matt, sorry, if you want to reach Matt and Anne, you can find them at mjgabel, Gabel.com. What I want to tell you, another thing I love about MJ Gabel is that it's I don't want to call you guys a small business because you're a big business, but you're a small business in the sense that people can call you on the phone and talk to you. It's not like a lot of these companies where everything is done online and automated.
No, you
It's
call,
you
yeah,
call and talk to Anne.
yeah, you can
So
call and
people,
talk to me, you
when
can
it
call and talk to Matt.
yes, and when it comes to jewelry, that's a really big deal to people. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to put my wedding rings in an envelope and send them to these people that I don't even know? And I was kind of scared, but I took a leap of faith. And now, anybody listening, you have me to validate that it's totally fine. And Matt and Ann said, if you don't want to work with us and you don't like our offer, we'll send it back to you. So you're not risking anything. And when you send it, by the way, it's all insured. So you don't have to worry if something happens. But what was my point? My point is that now. Oh, no, this was my point. My point is that you are talking to Matt and Ann in person. There's no online, there's no like, hi, how may we help you? What state do you live in? Hold on, we'll connect you with one of our branches. Like, we don't want that. When it comes to something like this, personalized service, talking to somebody you know is the best. Don't you guys think that's like a huge plus?
100%.
Great. I don't think
Mhm.
there's any other company that does what we do, that you can actually talk to the founders of the company and be able to discuss with them options for your
Yeah,
diamond jewelry.
when you're calling and talking or working with Matt or I, you are talking to the partners,
Right.
the owners. And if you can't get me, you can get Matt and vice versa. It's
Love it.
one or the other,
All right,
really.
let's get into your options. So, to my listeners, like I said, at the time, I sent my ring to Matt and Ann. They made me an offer. I took it. They sent me a check, paper check back then. Now you probably do
Mhm.
like Zelle or
You can do
wire
ACH, yep,
transfer.
all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
And that was great because that was 2011. Now, tell me about the other options people have. You can still do that. I know you do some other things.
We do. So we can, like Jackie said, we can buy your jewelry outright, your rings, and anything from your ex or anything you don't want anymore, really. Earrings,
Any
necklaces,
jewelry
bracelets,
from
any
anyone.
jewelry. We buy it
Mhm.
all. Yes. Um, Second to that would be consignment. So we can consign your pieces. What that looks like is we refinish them to new condition, we professionally photograph them, and we take over the selling process for you. So now we're using our tools, our expertise, our knowledge, our customer base, all of those things, our name recognition to sell them on your behalf. Third option would be an auction or a broker scenario. We have auctions once a month. We can facilitate that with you as well. In any of these scenarios, there is never an obligation to sell. So even in an auction environment, it's not a typical auction where, whatever the hammer is, you're committed to sell. That's actually not the case. Every single step of the way, not only will Matt and I educate you, talk to you about the numbers that are coming in, what we think about them, prep you, for what to expect, but also you don't have to accept whatever comes in.
You're still in
All right,
control.
You're 100% in control.
Yeah.
all right, now let me ask you this. If somebody decides to go the auction route,
Yeah.
do you ask them like, okay, what's the lowest number you'll go? Because don't you have to
No.
sell it right there? Or you can say, okay, you have time in an auction to call the
Yeah.
person and say, here's what your offer is. Do
Yes,
you want
correct.
it?
Yes. So what
Do they
happens?
have to decide on the spot?
Nope.
Nope.
So the auctions are typically for a week at a time, like I said, once a month. We only see the highest bid that comes in. So it's not an incremental bidding system. It's a blind bidding system. Once we see the number, we call the client and go over it with you. Again, we're going to prep you ahead of time. We think that this diamond could bring $7,000 to $8,000 roughly. That's what our expectation is. let's say the diamond does exponentially better than that. I call you and say, Jackie, we got an offer for $97.50 on the stone. Do you want to either accept or decline? You have some time to think about it. I just need to know by tomorrow at this time. So you have usually a whole overnight to think about it. And then you can either accept or decline. If for some reason we don't hear from you, we just decline the bid. So you, again, no matter what the scenario is, unless we actually get a yes, 100%, and I want to sell it for this price, that's what we'll do.
And I mean, we consult with you too about that. So
Yes.
let's just say you're not sure about that 97.50. We're going to say the market's about 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very fair offer. Or we're going to say it came in at 5,500. I think we should wait
Right.
and resubmit because I think that's entirely too low for you to accept.
Or let's figure out another solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about what works for people. So I know that, Anne, you have these consultations. It's very personalized. You probably ask people a bunch of questions and then you figure out with them what the best process is.
Mhm.
But for somebody who needs the cash right now, you probably want to just have an outright offer.
Yes.
For somebody who is not in a hurry for the money, they
Mhm.
can wait and then either consign or auction.
Correct. Sometimes what we can do, especially if someone is in, a pinch, like Matt said, needs the funds to fund something else. And like, let's say we want to try the auction to see what it'll do, but the auction's not for 3 weeks, from now. Let's say you catch us kind of at a funny time. What we can do is we can give a partial payment towards that, to help bridge, you know what I mean, until the auction is finalized so that we can get a higher number for you.
So it allows you to take advantage of the market rather than being in a position where you have to take a lower offer because you need the money. So plenty of times we've given somebody $5,000 to bridge them because we think the diamond will do 12, 14. They need the money. We bring it to auction. It does in fact do 12 and 14.
We pay them the balance.
It's just a
Yeah.
better scenario for them.
You guys are floating money.
Well,
Great.
yes, we do in certain
I mean,
scenarios, yeah.
And once had a client, unfortunately, who was in a very, very bad situation. We didn't know the situation at the time, but Anne had sold a piece for her and it actually funded her from getting out of an abusive situation.
Mhm. So whenever we can, we try and make a situation work.
That is a beautiful story because I do know somebody right now who wants to get divorced, but she doesn't even have enough money for the
Yeah,
retainer.
exactly. Sure.
Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
the retainer is usually the hang up for an
That
attorney.
is so sad, but what a great thing you're doing.
Yeah,
Love it.
sure.
Well, you guys, tell me, I have one more question. What's the consignment deal? Is that where you guys have an online store and you put it on there?
Yeah, so there's a couple different scenarios in which we sell pieces on consignment. First of all, I am also a private jeweler, which means I do see clients locally here that are looking for pieces. And, whatever inventory I have, we share with them the diamonds, etc. We also have a lot of partners that we work with, auction houses, galleries, things like that, other jewelers that have access to our inventory. First Dibs, we are a dealer on First Dibs. So we really market your pieces to a lot of different
Globally.
places. Yeah, globally. I mean, First Dibs, it's not uncommon for me to sell, I just sold a ring to a woman in France, for example. You know what I mean? So we're reaching a market of usually between 8 to 10 million people.
On a monthly basis.
Mhm.
And our pieces literally get shipped all over the world.
All over the world, yeah.
Including some of our high six-figure pieces that get sold.
Yep.
Wow. Well, it sounds like tons of great options. Always so nice to talk to you guys.
You too, Jackie.
Thanks so
pleasure.
much for taking the time.
Yeah, we're always happy with what you do. You're doing good work to help these women. So we're always happy to be a part of what you're doing.
Thanks so much. And
Thank
to
you.
my listeners, if you liked what you heard and you want to talk to Matt or Anne, they can be found at mjgabel.com or in the Trusted Professionals section of Divorced Girl Smiling. And you can also go to divorcedgirlsmiling.com to listen to more podcasts, read articles, download my mobile app, or sign up for my free consult. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you real soon.